Fuck. Never mind. I know how to use Restream. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Live. Where's you just go?
Hello, humans, and welcome to Surprise Audioface, like Surprise Spanish Inquisition.
Goodbye. Spanish Inquisition. Surprise!
You have
Emergency door
Catholicism
coming off your plane.
surprise!
Like, wait,
there's a door.
It's like I didn't get a door seat. Surprise! Yes, you did.
It's like my favorite seat too. I would have been sucked out of them hoes.
Got the mean suck, right? Got that like premium deluxe suck. This is
Audioface. This is episode 290, first one
and a reference
of
podcast
2024.
about music news and music culture that mostly matters. Who we kidding?
Sure.
Actually, no. This is an incredibly consequential episode of Audioface. I am Dan. We've got a lot to talk about. You introduce yourself already, Sean.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's like is it best to be the first one who's introduced or the last one who's introduced? So I'm just gonna do both.
You know what? I'm gonna have to go back and rewind who was the first one to be introduced on every single episode, every single year of Audioface to kind of do an arbitrary scale of luck, I guess. But yeah, no, we've got singles we're going to kick back and do next week. We were going to usually start Audioface maybe like a week later from now, but god damn it, just when
this
I thought
year
it was coming back
is
in.
Fucking crazy. We have.
Yeah. This could be a top heavy year again, like last year was, because the last year was really just like the end of it, like a lot of, you had gems, of course, but it was a really wet balloon. We talked about that in the Audioface Awards, more on that in a moment. But yes, we have albums to discuss this week, and we have a lot of earth-shattering news to discuss in the music world this week. Sean, what do we have?
All right. So, well, first off, we gotta go into albums. We gotta talk about albums first, because this is a reviews podcast, because we listen to even an album. We got 3 for you all this week, and this is the main reason why we're doing the damn podcast. We have American Dream by 21 Savage.
21.
We got oh god damn it.
Orquídeas.
I had Orquídeas by Uchis, and Insano by Kid Cudi. Also had a random statue floating in Alamitos Bay in Long Beach for some fucking reason.
All right.
I can't wait. I
even an island.
Even an island. Yeah, it was yeah. I'm like
yeah.
Okay.
Plus we have some really interesting news, including Kanye's apology to the Jewish community, the Vince Staples show, and
Pitchfork Pack Watch.
Yes. Oh, Pitchfork Pack Watch. It's going to be so great. Plus, a really shocking, though not shocking, though shocking kind of take from the Coachella lineup release that happened. And what would it be a year of Audioface without cracking the champagne bottle on one Aubrey Drake Graham? And so we'll get to the beginning. First, let me just say, I've been wanting to do this for a while because I've been rebranding this thing. It's going to be the Audioface UNHiatus, and it'll be a different thing for Power Report. And so basically, we've had episodes of Audioface that have been recorded all year. I've just been delayed with getting them edited and published. Now we have a whole team to be able to edit and publish some of these videos, so those will start to go up soon. If you are a member on Twitch or YouTube or on the website, there are new membership tiers that are going up, so you will be able to get those backlog episodes first, as well as the new episodes that are coming on. So it'll be great. You'll be able to get to see kind of the 2023 year that was, and all the stuff that we were talking about with that hadn't been uploaded already, because there were some things that got up there here and there. Plus all the new stuff that's happening, because 2024 is, boy, is it a year. Yes. And so we got the Audioface Awards was great. We had some great albums to talk about. Nevertheless, we had some great noted little bitch nominations. I guess we'll be partially spoiling here in a moment. We had the mugshot brackets, which Sean really put me close to the grill there for a moment.
You're lucky I was tired. I didn't have that. I lost the fight in me.
I'm good at tiring you out and getting the fight out of you, daddy. So, anyways, we will be. You can see all of that. Plus, there's no way I was going to be beating. No, I was going to be beating the folks who won. Watch who won in that episode, but. Also, if that was last year where it was me versus Spot'em Gotham, we're done. Like, oh man, like we're done. I would have never beaten that. Anyway,
Spot Bottom is legendary.
he's probably like it's the Spot'em Gotham mugshot award.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if it wasn't for Eldrick's legendary mugshot, from literally from Dusk Till Dawn totem pole, it would be the Spot'em Gotham award. Absolutely.
Anyways, so you can expect to see that. Check out the tiers for honestly, on the Audioface channel, we don't have YouTube membership yet, so it'll either be on Twitch or you will see it on the Syndicate 23 website. So check it out there. Otherwise, actually, I'm gonna go in a little bit of a random order just because I'm feeling spicy. I want to do the Drake story first. So
let's go.
What had happened was
see what had happened was
Yasin Bey, formerly known as Mos Def, went on a podcast to discuss whether or not Drake was truly, hip hop or not. And
your favorite thing.
He really did not want to answer this question.
He was very uncomfortable.
Yeah, he really hated it. I'll insert the thing into here in post because it's just been like hard to track down and find, but he has been kind of on damage control since this moment. Oh wait, no, I have a bit of it here, so I'm going to roll the videotape and we'll play a little bit of what was happening in this clip here. Okay, so will it play? Yes, it will kind of play. Okay, sweet. Come on, man. There we go. Okay, watch.
Yes.
So
play
sorry, yeah. Play for the jury. Let's go back here. So he is asked, is Drake hip hop?
Is Drake hip hop? Yeah.
Yes.
Is Drake's music hip hop?
Let's go here. View tab. There we go. Sorry, getting used to the StreamYard setup, y'all. So there we go. Okay, so watch this.
Like, is Drake hip hop?
Why are you doing this to me?
Drake is pop in the sense, like, if I was in Target in Houston and I heard a Drake song,
that actually happened.
Like a lot of his music is compatible with
Drake's in Houston now.
Shopping.
Because Pusha T made him pay child support.
Music.
Or it's
Music,
shopping with an edge in certain instances.
Fair. I like Drake's music, but I understand exactly what you're saying.
Of course, I mean,
it's commercial, entertaining, fun, good, it's formulaic music.
It's likable.
Likable music, yeah.
It's likable.
But is it?
No. You gotta understand. This is like one of those old like Meet the Team videos in Team Fortress 2, where like the characters like riffing a little bit, but like they're slowly loading their gun. Because watch what's about to happen here.
I'm gonna leave you alone. We're gonna move on.
So many products.
So many SKUs.
So many SKUs. Look at all these SKUs. Oh, so many products.
So much merchandising. So many barcodes.
I love this mall. Look at this place. I mean, look at this place. They have everything. Everything's here. They have everything here. Oh, this is great. This is a new Drake. You hear it? It's great. Okay. What happens when this thing
like the comment at the end is like, what happens when this thing collapses? And that's the most like Audioface moment of the entire thing. It goes into a further part where he's talking about, the ephemerality of Drake as an artist, and how you always have this like flavor of the month type thing, and you either kind of adapt or die to it. And there's a lot of discourse that I've been paying attention to on kind of the off season of Audioface, where I'm able to kind of like take a step back and listen to some albums I wasn't able to listen to during the year, or like pay attention to some music takes I wasn't able to get to earlier. And one from FD Signifier on YouTube, who I shout out in the past, was a video he had done in the past about Drake and why he isn't really like respected in hip hop, despite having the numbers, despite having like the cultural cachet. And it's very simple. You look at the history of hip hop and it's street poetry. It's about the struggles and the tribulations of Black people predominantly, but of marginalized groups in different parts of the United States and the rest of the world now. Drake, during many of these moments, has never been like, hey yo, let's be aware of the situation in Haiti, or hey lo, let's be aware of the situation going on with George Floyd, or hey yo, let's be like, he's never been in those moments.
He's not that guy.
Yeah, he's just not that guy. In those moments where you would expect someone to be like, the leader of hip hop as that tradition, to be able to speak out in those moments, Drake has been very silent. I mean, like, there's a reason why Kendrick Lamar, for example, a lot of people consider him to be like kind of the heir apparent to hip hop as it is right now. And the work that you're showing to make that assessment are albums like To Pimp a Butterfly, albums like Damn, albums like Good Kid, Mac City, and the projects that are on there with swimming pools and all the odes to fancy girls on Long Beach Boulevard. Like, there's a lot of stuff within Kendrick Lamar's discography, but I mean, fuck, even 2 Chainz's discography, right? That speaks more to the Black experience than Drake's does. And it's a really interesting thing that like Mos Def is pointing this out, because I think that's where Mos Def's criticism is coming from. But I think what we've been saying on Audioface for the past couple of years is just like, whether it's a ode to hip hop or whether Drake is like a rapper or not, it's really just sort of the sense of like, he has been rapping about the same tired, old, boring tropes for the past decade and a half now. And we're just like, hey man, just, every single, again, 2 Chainz, Meek Mill, like Lil Wayne, artists older than you, younger than you, more and less and about as degenerate than you, like everywhere on the sun, like even
T-Pain.
Artists that are selling as much as you, right? Or nearly as much as you, are showing more of a change over their careers lyrically and musically. You know what? Again, a lot of 2023 was like Audioface as a show has like changed me, personally, also like my musical perspectives. But like, here's another one, right? Like Taylor Swift has grown more lyrically and musically than Drake has.
Absolutely.
In the past,
what the fuck,
10, 14 years now.
Yeah.
Which is like, again, a wild sentence that I would have been surprised of me saying like 10 years ago, or even, when we started the podcast. But back in those times, I wasn't paying this close of attention. Now I'm really seeing it, and I'm like, oh my God. It's a tragedy.
It's just, yeah. I mean, the thing too is just what we've always said, or I'm very critical of. It's just it's just pop music. That's what it is. That's what Drake is, right? It's just commercial, overgeneralized pop music. And his past few records have been really flat, right? Like, there hasn't been to me anything really exciting since Scorpion, really. Where I mean, as like a pop album, Scorpion was okay, but that was the last thing that had some decent tracks.
The situation.
The rest of the past couple releases, I mean, you had Honestly Nevermind, which is awful. You had Her Loss, which is really just 21 carrying the bag on that one, and and all those other projects have been really boring and bland, and people are starting to kind of catch on to that, I think. So most stuff is just really laying it out. Somebody whose career, I mean, look at Black on Both Sides. Was it 98, 99?
Oh yeah, like these are now. It's a little bit apples to oranges, to be fair. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Yasin Bey and under Mos Def was releasing these prolific genre defying works. You know, before Drake was but a twinkle in the eye of his Canadian parents.
I mean, this is when Drake was doing blackface, to be fair, though. So
Oh no, the story about it. Oh man, never forget. But I think I even told you when we were talking about this before going live that when Drake starts talking about stuff like the Congo, which I'll play this clip right now of Mos Def actually spitting some bars on right now, then you could be considered an arbiter of hip hop, an arbiter of the genre. But we've talked about it, and I think this is we do our annual state of the music industry conversation. We are at the point, not to spoil too much of it, but we're at the point where the same like rock is dead conversation we had in like 2018, 2019, we have with rap right now, where it is just a pop music game, like somewhat of an anecdotal, I guess, semi-racist coming from my perspective thing, but whatever, here goes. I was at a very white ski resort the other weekend, and all of the extremely white, very middle class, wealthy, like college student Zoomers and whatever, were blasting like Sexy Red and Ice Spice and Drake and all that stuff. And I'm just like, rap has been so far removed from that point in which it was. Even in the early 2010s, like you would have that, but you would still have some diversity of, okay, you have Tyler the Creator, you have Kendrick Lamar, and you have Drake, and you have stuff like that. But it's just been so whittled down to a point of uselessness that you're so far away from what the genre is supposed to be. But I really wanted to play this really fast. This is Mos Def talking about actual things happening, especially with that segue from the beginning where he's like, what happens when this all crumbles? So here's that continuation.
The situation in the Congo is dire. The situation in Sudan is gross. And then when you read the record of history, how like this is par for the course, this is par for the course for what they do. What is known as the United States of America is a colonial settler project, almost like inherently the Massachusetts Bay Colony. All of these were corporate concerns that were chartered, funded to conquer the new world.
Yeah, manifest destiny.
Already been there, and they paved over it and built a parking lot and put a mall on top, and everybody just blithely goes their way. Now, that's been working for some time now, and working is a very loosely defined term. Nonetheless, that's a king, but what's a crown to the clouds? As the Hopi chief said famously in one of his exchanges, he said, "We were told that America was the thing that we would see come and go." So this idea of permanence via brute force, it's just not historically supported. And if you doubt it, well, then you go to any museum of antiquity and see where all of the thugging gets the thugs. Everybody who sells dope is like, nah, see, but what I'm gonna do, it's like, okay, well, the dope game is cursed and so is the dope. So good luck with that. They will be punished. And the reckoning is not only coming, it is here from ends that the oppressor does not yet perceive. I know it's heartbreaking. You should be heartbroken. That means your heart is working. If you're heartbroken and it's distressing, that means that you are sane. You are a functioning individual. If you are uncomfortable and you're maladjusted to a sick society, it means that you are healthy. Through the demise, my heart is still alive. It looks awful outside, but it's still worth a try.
Meanwhile, Drake is talking about sports betting. So I'm just talking when it comes to.
Meanwhile, Drake is trying to have his kid say that he's the GOAT, and his kid is very uncomfortable.
Yeah, like while we are having there's just no conversation. There's just like no point here. I see Jules you in chat saying hi. There's someone else who said, Oh, he can't discount Seth Rogen says he can't speak on political and social issues when he's already busy sending unsolicited DMs to Fantano, which is really
I forgot about that. That's right.
we are beating around the bush here a little bit. And to crack the champagne on this new year of Audioface, I would like to nominate Drake, Aubrey Drake Graham for the Timothy Daniel Poole Noted Little Bitch Award.
Absolutely.
Not only because he's had this sort of like adverse negative reaction to what's been going on, or like what Mos Def has said, from posting on his story by going like, "Ugh, I'm a little bit upset by this," posting other rappers from the 90s saying, "Oh, hip hop is about the culture, hip hop is about the art," all these other different things that are really contradicting what Drake is saying, because Drake is also speaking as though he is a leader of hip hop and rap culture and a leader of the art. And I'm like, is Drake any more or less a leader of hip hop or rap as it exists right now than like a Playboy Cardi or like a Sexy Red or like a Cardi B even? Like I don't see Drake. I mean, other than having some fashion brands, which like Jay-Z has brands, Rihanna has brands and has been releasing less music and has been performing less, right? And has arguably more profitable brands. So by any metric Drake is talking about, other than musical sales, he is an arbiter of hip hop culture. Which, if we're talking about musical sales making you a stronger example of hip hop or black culture, then I guess Morgan Wallen's number 2 and Taylor Swift is number 3. Like, so what are we? What the hell are we actually doing here?
All right. That's enough of Drake.
That was a lot. I'm sorry. We'll save the best for last. We'll save the best for last here. This is the big news. So the second one is that we had the Coachella list kind of drop. And so we have seen the lineup for Coachella 2024. And of course, it unfortunately seems a little bit America centric when we're describing, Coachella and how that is. But it's a really good way to see, commercially how the like industry or the music industry is looking. And so when you're just looking at this list here, Lana Del Rey, Tyler the Creator, and Doja Cat, and additionally No Doubt are kind of like the big headliners. You also see some other big names from Justice to Blur to Ice Spice, Bleachers, Dumb Dollar, J Balvin, Jhené Aiko, all throughout here. Lil Yachty again. And so it's a lot of, you could take a first glance of this and you're like, it's a lot of a who's who of like pop and maybe a little bit of rap, a little bit of what's been popular over the last 10-15 years. But one of the really like not I guess like startling, but something that really made all of this stand out to me is this post from Roster here that shows this like has a bunch of different breakdowns. You can see like which like management companies booked different artists, but I think the most like relevant one here is which genres. And if you're looking at this, okay, so you'll see the headliners. It sees a lot of pop and hip hop. But if your brain goes to colors, you'll see maybe this light blue here. So you'll see like a good amount of indie rock, but you'll actually see that the light blue pales in comparison to like the regular dark blue, which is dance and EDM. And then you very quickly see that Coachella this year has become probably the most prominent electronic music festival in America, at least, which is funny because there's a whole industry of these. And I think it's also funny because, I think the first big Coachella shift, at least that we remember in recent memory, was around like the 2009-2010 era, where you started getting more pop acts, because traditionally Coachella was like a rock indie type festival. And then there's this whole big kerfuffle where people were like, oh no, Coachella's changed, it's gotten different, it's not the same, because you're seeing these pop rock even rap acts at Coachella, and people thought it was getting messed up because of that. Now, 10 years later, the change is now, it's a very diverse lineup. I mean, diverse in the sense of genres. It's still largely a male-led thing, as you see here. And when you look at like who was booking these, as far as the different labels and different management companies, it is not a very diverse affair. Kyle, Ghost Producer, was saying like this is Wasserman supremacy here, because just look at how much they were booking, and that's a lot of the electronic bookings there. But I think it was just kind of amazing to see that. I think this is a year you can really tell, much like that 2010 2011 phase, where Coachella has now become, or like seems to be becoming, a festival for a different genre, and now that's electronic music. And I have a number of reasons why, but I've talked a lot, so I'm curious what you think.
No, I mean that's what happens. It's like capitalism. It goes in waves, boom bust cycles. Of Coachella, because you have it, or you have some years where it's really strong in pop. I mean, you had The Weeknd come in instead of Kanye because Abel actually shows up for jobs. It doesn't ruin his teeth.
Forgot about
that. And then you have like sometimes there's super indie heavy. I mean, that was early or like more mid aughts, late aughts, some of the 2010s. You had a lot of more indie acts at the time. You've had some really strong electronic music times too. But it's interesting now, especially because there's been kind of harder times with EDM, I'd say, of the genre being really flat and it become of just not holding the popularity it was at the peak of like the mid 2010s and stuff, at least in America. And then you have specific EDM festivals which have really taken over in that regard. So it's interesting to see more electronic music kind of popping up with that. So yeah, you have that. You have cycles, I think, too, because a lot of the artists who would normally headline Coachella, a lot of them released music last year and stuff. So it's not as much heavy with releases for artists who would be interested, or for artists that would normally come up. They're not kind of performing this year, or they're not really releasing that much this year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like we're kind of on an off cycle as well, where
for sure
a lot of the big artists like had been releasing. I mean, remember 2020 was less so a monster year for touring, but 2020 and 2021 and 2022 unleashed a lot of creativity in the music world. And so what you saw as a result of that was a lot of touring and a lot of pent-up demand for touring. As we've seen broaden the economy, there's a lot of pent-up demand for events in general, travel in general, festivals in general. And so that all kind of lines up there. So all those things are definitely happening, but it's just kind of just amazing, this overall takeover here. There's also some other things like with Coachella that I think, like, Kyle was mentioning. One thing was how there's a lot of like alias acts within Coachella, like a lot of artists who perform under different names here. I mean, just going under some that Kyle had mentioned here. Everything Always is John Summit and Dubdala. Sublime has like Bleachers is Jack Antonoff's band, and he's been like a producer on a bunch of different things.
Oh, Bleachers has been a pretty big indie band for a while here.
Oh yeah, totally. DJ
Scream and
is
Banga are doing a set together. That would actually be interesting. Banga, one of the OG old school UK dubsteps. That kind of goes hard.
You got a Kevin DeVries and Kolsch B2B set, looks like here too.
Ooh, I was gonna say there's a lot of EDM artists, which is interesting. So
this is a pretty much like an electronic music primer for EDC, which is kind of like, again, it's strange.
Interesting.
But it's fine. It's not, again, you see a lot of indie here. Like there's Bicep, there's I was just looking at a lot here. You have like 88 Rising, which is
Stolperstein, Grimes.
If
I didn't hate the desert and the festival in general, I mean, I just want to see that Scream and Banga set, because that's like, Scream's my favorite DJ. So
yeah, I mean, like Justice is almost worth the price of admission.
And there's that too. Absolutely.
But hopefully
Um,
that means that they'll be doing some touring outside of that, because
Mhm.
the only thing I'd love more than Justice as a music festival is seeing Justice on their own and not having to deal with a music festival. That's really
absolutely,
cool.
absolutely.
Yeah, and there's some other logistics, like Coachella has some different rules with how you can go in. Like you can only go, it's almost like some restaurants where you have to have your entire party there at once in order to go in. You have to have a carpool of 4 people in order to be able to park. So if you're coming with just like 2 people or something, like you're up Shit's Creek. And so there's a lot of stuff that's going on
All
more
right,
broadly with
whatever.
Coachella that I think it's going to be.
Fucking liberals.
It's funny. The country music festival is right afterwards. So
Stagecoach, yeah.
yeah, I think it's going to be very, very interesting how that all happens. But
Well, this is gonna be hot as fuck. I will never forget. Back in April, I did a cross country flight to Thermal during Stagecoach, which is
for
next
folks who
to
don't know, Thermal is the
tiny.
hottest spot on Earth, like almost literally.
Yeah, Thermal's a little airport just south of Palm Springs, and when we flew over, I could see
Daring to
Stagecoach.
lead.
I
That's
could
Death
see,
Valley.
yeah, I could see the dust from Stagecoach, and I was like, I'm glad I'm not down there, and I'm up here.
Oh yeah, when I did Coachella and then Barcelona right after that for Primavera, I was coughing up dust until like August. It was terrible. Like I'm just like that cut spring of months alone definitely took years off my life.
Oh yeah, for sure. You definitely can file a claim for COPD.
If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with
That's
mesothelioma,
mesothelioma.
anyways, I saved the best or last for quick hits here.
Oh,
Sorry, for the top of the big news stories. And smoking on young what's the name tonight smoking on young so's name tonight.
Pitchfork. We smoking that Pitchfork pack, man. We smoking that Pitchfork pack.
So Pitchfork has been Condé Nast, which is a broad magazine company conglomerate, owns Pitchfork in addition to a number of other properties. And so, new year, new me, a lot of these media companies kind of like look at their portfolios, they decide what to do with them. And if you've been paying attention to the media for the last, forever, pretty much since the 60s, honestly, it is not profitable. And there are lots of ways to make more money than doing me. I mean, like, media is interesting because there's interest in it and there will always be interest in it, but the way that the money is made in the media industry is constantly changing because invariably people don't like the way it works, and so there's less money in it, etc., etc., etc. Pitchfork, the storied, infamous media outlet for music, has now been folded into the Condé Nast property Gentleman's Quarterly, also known as GQ. And so now, rather than being its own sort of, website and thing, the site will still exist. There will likely still be archives, but it looks like going forward for the foreseeable future until, nothing good happens after this, right? Pitchfork will not really just be like, its own thing. It'll be a vertical within GQ, like New York Times lifestyle or Wirecutter, or like the Wall Street Journal op-ed page. Like it's just, a section within a larger thing.
They get a fucking column, bro. Like this, how the mighty
They got
have
Andy
fallen.
Rooney.
Just
they're an afterthought for like
an afterthought of a magazine that has been dying for a long time already.
Yeah, like people are like, newspapers have been dying. Like magazines. The shit you steal by accident by the check stand. Yeah, those things.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing you buy because you think you're gonna read it on a plane, you scroll through it for about 5 seconds to realize how crap that media is, and then you get
the
bored.
last time I bought a magazine, I think I was 7, and it might have been like a Nintendo Power because I wanted like one of those codes. Because it was back in the day when you couldn't like save.
Oh yeah,
and you had to like get the passwords and shit. And by the way, Nintendo Power, very popular magazine. Like my brother, growing up in the 80s and 90s, had editions of that shit. Very popular, very profitable magazine. Tits up in like 2007, 2008, right? And so you got to imagine like GQ is like, hanging by a thread here. And so a lot of people are mourning the death of Pitchfork. I'll talk about that in a moment, but Sean, your esteemed thoughts.
I mean, it's just interesting because Pitchfork has been doing reviews for decades and decades, and they have
Quote
their
unquote reviews.
quote unquote reviews, exactly, right? And like their thing is ranking albums, right? Like that's one of the big reasons. Them and Fantano are the two biggest reasons why we made the arbitrary scale, because it's interesting to see why albums get rated with the rating that they are.
It's just profoundly inconsistent. Like it's an
Absolutely.
easy heuristic. I'm fine explaining it a little bit because it's been a while, but like it's an easy heuristic for how an album is. If like, oh, I'm used to getting letter grades in college or
Yeah.
school or whatever, or I'm used to 1 to 10 ranking or a 1 to 5 ranking or some stars or whatever, right? But you know, Pitchfork has been lauded. I kind of disagree for some of their writing and some of their review work. I think it's like kind of trashy and terrible and very, different podcasts. We've done 290 of these hosts. Honestly, like more than 350 of these hosts talking about the errors of a lot of this music reviewing style and why we try to do it differently. But like a lot of the music review, a lot of the album review specifically are the words. It's a lot of how you're talking about it, how you're feeling about it, how you're vibing about it,
Absolutely.
specifically like when it's just coming out. And one thing that, Pitchfork and Fantano very sparingly, but very notably have had to come to terms with are that their quick draws, their first hits are sometimes terrible. And by giving things, like 4 out of 10 or a light 6 or however they're calling it, it's really not doing certain albums justice. And then by the same token, they're giving a lot of albums unnecessary like smoke and praise when it's like dog shit wrapped in cat shit.
Right, exactly. And it's like our review is our review. The review is not a score system. So I mean, they've just been very, very influential and stuff, and influential in my music consumption at a very young age, especially the indie stuff and whatnot. When I first was really getting into it and whatnot, and
For a lot of normies,
Ram-
Pitchfork
for-
is big.
yeah, exactly. So it's crazy to see that they died before the enemy.
Yeah. And I think why a lot of people like you're seeing a lot of people mourning Pitchfork because they are normies. And
Right.
it's definitely like one of those like for some people in certain different ways, like Israel Palestine taught them how a lot of people think about certain things, not weighing on one side or the other on any of that side, although it's pretty clear how I feel. Go to Power Report for that. But you have a lot of different situations here that have been like Rorschach tests for how people really consume these things. And so like the people mourning Pitchfork has been one of those situations. And yes, they're kind of somewhat tasteless normies. I'm looking at you, Ezra Klein. I'm looking at you, Casey Newton. I'm looking at you, like all these folks who are writing for these and have been shielded by the, dome, if you will, as I'm mixing my analogies of, upper echelons of media where like they haven't had to really acutely worry about layoffs happening to them because they were in management or they were in middle management.
Right.
They were the ones deciding who to lay off in a lot of cases or like would be at that level to do so. And so it's very cute and funny for them to be saying it. But what they're really mourning is something that's been happening in journalism for a long time, which is that the ways that content is delivered to people, which is we've talked about enshittification for a while, but like the ways that content is delivered where it's not based on the quality of a piece of work or like how good it is at delivering a message. It's just how clickbaity is the title, how clickbaity is the image, like how like hot takey can you get in the first like 3 seconds before someone scrolls away from it. And it doesn't create good media, and it's sure as shit not profitable in any kind of way. And so I think that's what people are mourning and kind of seeing in this, but don't confuse that. To like wrap up my point, don't confuse that with Pitchfork being like some type of beacon of good journalism. It's not some like democracy dies in darkness shit. In fact, I would compare it to exactly some entity like the Washington Post and the New York Times, which is that they're like a musical, paper of record, but they're kind of dog shit and they're really bad with their opinions and really irresponsible considering how many people give them such high praise. So smoking on that Pitchfork pack tonight fuck them, fuck their family, fuck the plane they flew in on, and
Fuck them
I-
shoes.
I have nothing but love for the individual people who work at outlets like this who just suffer when you have these kind of like mergers. But as far as the Pitchfork name and entity, fuck it, and may it do nothing but
Eat a
suffer
dick.
and shrink under the GQ banner. And that's
it
on
will.
God.
Yeah,
Anyway,
all right.
anyways, that was good. Now let's get through the moments you've all been waiting for, or the moments. Let's get to the albums.
Let's do it. So, first album review of the day, so I've written up Gary's way being. We have American Dream by 21 Savage. 15
21.
songs, 49 minutes long, about 50 minutes long. So this is with the film adaptation, right? Or whatever it is for 21.
Yeah, so these are like songs that are. This is both the first true 21 Savage solo album, very long overdue solo album.
Since I Am Greater Than I Was,
Greater Than
right?
Yes,
That was
in
released at the
2019?
tail end of 2018, I believe.
Yes, 2018. That's right. Yeah. So there's that. American Dream is also a movie wherein Donald Glover, aka Childish Gambino, stars as 21 Savage, and it kind of goes into that story where, I mean, we're kind of making fun of it early on in that point of Audioface because we're now a storied podcast where we covered that point about morals and values, and we covered that point where 21 Savage was arrested because of citizenship issues. That's where we got that line: Donald Trump might fuck around, deport my cars. And that is, people were clowning him like, oh, 21 Savage is secretly British, et cetera, et cetera. He ultimately got his paperwork settled and was able to not just get out of being incarcerated in that situation, but be able to tour and travel and do all the things ultimately MF Doom wasn't able to do for being in a similar situation. Like literally the exact situation.
I love it.
And so American Dream is kind of the play out continuation of that. You have some songs that go, I think, a little bit more into like that side of 21 Savage's life, because I Am Greater Than I Was definitely like a, book wide open kind of thing for 21 Savage, I would say. In that, he was talking a lot about his emotions, his history, his relationships, things like that you had seen from an otherwise, it was definitely a different perspective from an otherwise sort of like flat one-dimensional M's in my bank account kind of rapper that we had from 21 Savage up until that point. And so really I Am Greater Than I Was one of the first among other points where you saw that 21 could definitely fit within that SoundCloud, post SoundCloud rap kind of persona, but could definitely hit way above his pay grade and be a genuinely clever, funny rapper with a lot of range in it. So that's kind of like the setting for it. I think 21 Savage is like, really good and like definitely one of our favorites from this like newer generation. What did you think about the
album? So I've listened to the album quite a bit because we
with the time that we had,
right? So we both enjoy 21 Savage. I would say one of my more favorite modern day rappers. Actually a rapper, right?
Even a rapper.
And my favorite foreign rapper. There you go. That's what I should say.
Payback music.
That's a good one. I like it. I enjoyed it. I think it's a good listen. I think especially for the state of rap and trap in 2024. Now it's crazy to say. Like it's good in that respective, right? Like we've gotten a lot of flat, pretty crappy albums, especially from male artists the past 2-3 years, where it's been like meh, lots of meh. I mean, I really like Travis Scott's album last year, which I thought was like, okay, cool. We have some experimentation. You have something different there a little bit. This is more of the like flatter records, but it's a decent listen, right? It's nothing like, I think because of how strong I Am Greater Than I was as a release with introspections, really like growing as an artist with American Dream. I don't really sense that much of a growth for 21. I like the flows, I like the production. I think it's it sounds really crisp and clean in the way that it's made. It doesn't sound corny. Like some songs go hard. I mean, Red Rum, All of Me, the beginning. You got Pop Your Shit with Young Thug for Young Thug. You have Nana with Travis Scott, which I like that track a lot too. And like those tracks are like cool. Okay, like they're pretty good. But they're not like, I mean, it might take some time, but it's not like a lot, right? Or tracks like that really feel like bangers for 21, which I know he can do and I know that he can produce. With this feels like an album of not necessarily any skips, but nothing that super stands out to me. So like as a playthrough, as a record in total, I like it. I think it's a good record. I think it's the production, the lyrics, everything. I like it, but it's not super standout. Which
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting. I was expecting like I want like hit, couple skips, hit, couple skips. But it's like there's not really anything that I would honestly would throw out of here or whatnot. But there's nothing where I'm like really like think that's super wow out of this world. I mean, there's still good songs in here. Like Red Rum goes really hard, but it's not like, again, it's not like You Haven't a Lot or whatever, you know.
right. Yeah. We talked about this a little bit before recording as well, because time that we had, and this doesn't feel like it hits in the same way that I Am Greater Than I Was does, which is a little bit of a shame. Let's talk about some, like, I guess environmental headwinds, I guess, that 21 Savage is dealing with. Rap in its 50th year has never been drier or more decrepit or down bad. I don't say that as a hater. I just say that as someone who is like in the trenches, trying to listen and find rap, trying to challenge people to go, hey, if you dislike genre X or genre Y, just dig a little deeper like I am and you'll find something you like. And even I'm saying, hey, yo, it's rough out here. Like, I thought Lil Sims was a great record from last year. You had a lot of different, moments from some trap and B style artists. And ultimately, rap was a difficult genre to succeed in. That being said, if anyone's going to do it, especially one of the younger folks in that, it's 21 Savage, someone who can blend kind of the old respect for lyricism that you get from a backpacker with the newer sort of flow. But that's another thing, is that like, a downside of trap is that a lot of what's being released right now sounds very non-different at all from what we were hearing in 2017, 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
And you're hearing new stuff in rap right now. Like, you're hearing drill beats, you're hearing, I mean, like, Lil Yachty's making a fucking psychedelic record, right? Like, you get a lot of interesting stuff happening in this genre, and none of that's reflected in this record. And the production is immaculate. Metro Boomin's on a lot of the tracks here. Like, there's nothing wrong in here. There's nothing skippable or like downright offensive, which you often get from rap or trap music. I'm just saying it's, nothing eye-catching or amazing. And now that I have had time to sit with this record, my opinion that I had from the first 2 or 3 listens sit still, which is like, no, there is no 4L on this record, like from I Am Greater Than I Was. There is no A Lot, the flagship song he did with J. Cole. There is no Ball Without You. There is no, I mean, you have songs like Letter to My Mama from I Am Greater Than I Was, and then you have Letter to My Brother, which is, I guess, a direct continuation of that idea, but also you get moments of 21 Savage in his more vulnerable and his less, Slaughter Gang style, which is good to see. But again, trap is so saturated, and what he's doing is like such a bare minimum, that the fact that we don't see that much from the genre is not necessarily good reflecting on 21 Savage. It's like, you're doing the bare minimum in a genre where the bare minimum stands out. That doesn't make you standing out as a musician with this project, which is weird to say, because again, like, I think I Am Greater Than I Was is better than this project, and some parts sounds newer than this project, which is ridiculous to say, because this project is like, let's consider it a 2019 release. I Am Greater Than I Was, because it came out.
Yeah, because it came out like last week of 2018.
Yeah. So this is 5 years later, and this sounds like it could have been released in the same year. And that's fairly disappointing. It would have been a great release in that year, and it would have been really catchy, and it would have been a good follow-up. But I'm just like, 21, I don't know, maybe you can do better. My last things I've gone on a long time, I know, it's just like, 21's features have not been hitting like they used to. Like 21 was on a run in the latter part of the 2010s, but like right now his features just like haven't been hitting. He's clearly been, and I mean this in every version of what I'm about to say, he's clearly been ran through by working with Drake so often. Like that's definitely taking a toll on him.
You know what the take is? 21 needs a vacation, man. 21 needs to just take some time off, chill, go to the Bahamas.
21
go
needs the
to- go
Lord
to-
special. Just like go to some
SBF's
corner of the
old
country,
mansion, buy it out. You know it's for sale.
get a grand piano,
Just
chill out.
chill there for a little bit. You know, smoke on some herb, do what you need to do, and then call up Metro Boomin and make Savage Mode 3.
Yeah,
But you gotta you can't get Morgan Freeman. You gotta up it. You
take
gotta
a
up it.
collection.
You gotta get James Earl Jones to narrate the record.
Some of my favorite TikToks have been people saying like epic things in random, like in newscasts or in like viral videos, and they just put Metro Boomin music under it. It's like da 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 da.
I love it. Yeah.
No, that's hard. And so yeah, it's a solid record. It's not a bad record. It's just very underwhelming considering that 21 has been producing records like this for the past 5 or 6 years in a world where even when 21 was making really great records of this kind 7-8 years ago, they weren't groundbreaking. It was just showing what the best of what the genre could do. And now we're 7 or 8 years past that. 5 years since I Am Greater Than I Was, more since Issa album. And here we are sitting here, and Metro Boomin's in rare form. 21 Savage seems to be struggling to catch up. It's a damn shame. And I think it's the best way to end this review by saying it's a damn shame. So, arbitrary scale.
All right. Jesus Christ.
Arbitrary scale. We do arbitrary scales every week on Audioface because our review is our review. We are not Pitchfork. It's been 18 days. Our review is our review. We are not going to tell you a letter ranking system like Pitchfork, Smoke on You, what's his name tonight, or a number ranking system. We are going to tell you how we feel about an album. Basically, that's what we did tell you.
Our review.
But
arbitrary
the way we
scale
are going to do it now is with aviation incidents in the year 2024. That's the arbitrary scale we're using this week. So any aviation incident that has happened in 2024, we can compare this album to that.
This is definitely the fucking State Department blocking Spirit Airlines and JetBlue merger. That shit had me dying when they said that shit. They're like, not happening.
I love the part that like Spirit Airlines stock dropped 47%, which is basically the finance bro version of it's so over, it's never been more over than it is right now. And then JetBlue stock tick up 5%, which is like, all right, cool. Which is exactly how I feel about it. As a lifelong JetBlue True Blue subscriber, don't shitify my airline by adding that Spirit shit in there. I don't care about flying to Las Vegas that much, honestly.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. Fly Skyways instead if you have to.
I will wait on that high speed rail, or I'll
just fly you.
Honestly, next album review of the day, serving it up Gary's way. Trademarked. It's
I really should. I really should trademark it at this point. All right, we got.
No, you can't. You literally can't.
I know. I mean, obviously. All right, we've got Uchis or Quiddas 14
You gotta warm up your mouth. You gotta like rev it up.
I literally do. Also, because I'm still coughing like 2 weeks later for being sick, and I have a forever stuffy nose, so I'm pretty over it. 14 songs, 44 minutes long. Interesting because Uchis released a record last year, which is Red Moon and Venus. I think at the beginning
around the same time,
or I think it was like March, maybe February, March, something like that. Shorter record, to be fair, from what I remember.
Yeah.
but or maybe around the same point. Oh, actually, no, about the same length. But anyways,
Kali Uchis is kind of like almost steadfastly sick of releasing music in English.
oh yeah,
Redmond and Venus had, to be fair, had like a lot of that English in there. But in 2020, you had a Spanish album, Sin Miedo, Miedo, rather, and then now you have, you know, all of this is going on. And so it's been a really interesting turn for her. But I also think that it has been great because I think a lot of music, you know, we're predominantly review English speaking music on this podcast. And that music has audiences around the world, and
yeah,
they sometimes understand the lyrics and sometimes they like understand English better because they really enjoy those songs. They want to understand what's being said, and sometimes it's just sounds and they are just like speaking to those sounds. It just like works out with them. And I consume music in a similar way. Sometimes I care enough about a record and I want to understand what's being said in another language. Sometimes I don't care. I just like the vibe of it, and I just like the vibe of vibing with it with other people, and that is just totally fine. Kali Uchis has kind of figured this out and worked it in a way that just, you know, works well for herself. And so these albums, you know, thankfully she's taken this creative leap and she's been able to support that and you know, continue to make albums like this in Spanish. And it's not like, you know, creatively threatening to her, or she doesn't feel threatened like, oh, I'm not selling enough records, or my fans don't like this enough. Like she's still doing that. She is still continuing on this you know, different musical journey. And it's sounding great. Like it's sounding great and unique still. Many years into it, which I'm enjoying.
yeah. I mean, this record's interesting because at the beginning of it, right, it's more kind of dance heavy, right? Like it's more house influence with the first, I think, 2, 3 tracks, really. And I was like, okay, like it's interesting to have that. Then in like the middle of the record, you get more really Latin flares with it, which I really with Diosa, which I really like that track and stuff with the more Afrobeat influences and stuff. So it's good and bad in that regard because I feel like it's a little not so cohesive, especially within the first like 5, 6 tracks with how they're done up. Um, especially like De Mata, which is the sixth track in the middle of it. It's just the way that it's like kind of paced out and stuff, it just doesn't feel like it necessarily belongs with everything. So it feels like there's a lot going on for a record, especially when you're not even a year removed from Red Moon and Venus too, where it's like, okay, well, if it's a follow-up record and stuff, it'll be like, okay, interesting to hear what it is. But if it's all right, this is kind of the maybe the B-sides almost of Red Moon and Venus, then I'll be all right, fair play. It makes sense why it's not like a super cohesive project in that regard. But that's like my main complaint. Other than that, I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. Um, with like the first couple tracks, I really like the more dance pivot stuff and everything. I'm like, this is I can hit it. I like it. You know, me and house, I will never say no to that. And some of the stuff, you know, with like the track with Carol G, I thought was pretty good when you get down
There's some
more of
really
the Spanish
fun
influences and stuff.
I
Yeah.
was just gonna say there's some really fun collaborations in here. Like we
Yeah.
have Raul Alejandro in here. You have JT randomly in
Mhm.
here, and people are saying, "Oh, that might be like a random pick." Keep in mind, the last time she did this like sort of like all Spanish album escapade, you also had Rico Nasty pop up on a track. So you know there have been some like
Exactly.
you know sounds weird ends up working out picks that Kali Uchis has done, and this kind of continues with that. There's nothing that like you know. Yes, it's a little bit disorganized, and I'm not sure. I need to listen to it more honestly to be able to figure out like, okay, does it really fit in is like a continuation with Sin Miedo or Red Moon and Venus. But you know, on its own, despite being a little bit disjointed, I enjoyed most of the sounds. Like I wouldn't feel like there are any skips with it. It's one of those situations where I could shuffle through it and feel pretty good with it. I can just let it play through and kind of focus on other things and feel really good with it, specifically because it's in a language that I'm not necessarily native to. So there's that. But yeah, you have that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good listen. I think it's a fun record, not quite cohesive, but I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, especially for, you know, not being a year removed from Red Moon and Venus. So, um, yeah, decent project, decent record. So, yeah, it's fun.
Arbitrary scale. We do arbitrary scales every week.
Because this is Audioface, and this is our review. Is our review arbitrary scale year this week? 2024.
Audioface West Side Story.
Jesus Christ. 2024 aviation incidents.
Why do we pick this?
I gotta be fucking careful what I say.
Pull up.
I mean, I'm literally waiting on my latest certificate from the FAA, so they might just put like they might send me a letter with it too, so giving me a warning.
I mean, not to put you in a power report situation, but in November there's going to be a Bahrain International Air Show. So maybe if Bahrain finds some opportunities when they're done with their little escapade in the Red Sea, maybe they, you can take a look at the newest Boeings. But
this is definitely the Atlas Air 747-800 series, where one engine was on fire and had to return to Florida, to Miami. Dude, that shit happened when I got to Zamperini Field. And one of my bosses, they go, "Hey, did you see that shit that got on fire?" I'm like, "The fuck you talking about?" She pulls it up. She sits down sipping coffee. She pulls up her phone. I'm like, "God damn!" I'm like, "Dude, it's been 2 weeks of the year." It's like, what the fuck's going on?
Boeing stock is just like, stop the hammering. Stop the hammering.
I mean, the best part too is it's not even their fault. Like that's a General Electric engine, so it's not even part of Boeing. It just slapped that sucker on there, but it still looks bad for Boeing. The ironic part,
and that's why you'll never hear about that on the news, because one of the founding organizations of NBC and MSNBC was General Electric.
Oh shit!
The Rockefeller Center in New York used to be the General Electric building.
Oh, that's right. I didn't even think about that. Also, General Electric do make my favorite engines because they make those new 777 engines. And
they're not sponsoring.
They're not sponsoring. I mean, no.
So, lastly, we have our last album of the day.
Let's get that in. I've been looking forward to that. Last album review of the day, serving up Gary's Way Bean. We have Insano by Kid Cudi. 21 songs, an hour and 4 minutes long.
Lube up, Scott.
Jesus Christ. I want to hear what Caesar has to say about this.
I don't care what Caesar has to say about this. This album's ass.
Dude, this album.
All I gotta say is song 15 features XXXTentacion, and on that alone, we should really stop reviewing this.
First off, I want to go into that. We're just gonna rip off that Band-Aid now. You can't be doing songs with XXX, my guy. Like you were so lucky it's a live stream because the amount of shit I would say, so you'd have to edit. You can't. Like you just with the man who doesn't know what utensils are supposed to be used for, you can't have him on your record.
And unless XXXTentacion is doing like an ad lib about purchasing Lamborghinis or like where to best park it so you don't get like ticketed or targeted, then I really don't want to hear anything he has to say.
The only time
he's already dead. Let him die.
Dead. The only thing he's good for is if he actually featured on Lil Pump's on Butterfly Doors. Then I'd be like, all right, cool, we could go with that.
Listen, I wish I could say something good about XXXTentacion, but he won't even make a good organ donor. The rest of the Kid Cudi album.
All right, we got the bad part out the way.
We don't do No Chill Island anymore. We just sprinkle that bitch out through the whole year.
Absolutely.
So I guess Kid Cudi had his peak and honestly should have just quit the game after releasing Man on the Moon 3, because I think that was like a good summation to like a decade-long project he's been working on. And you could be at that point where you do some side projects here, some collaborations there. He did that Intergalactic project that was kind of partially a Netflix thing that came out at the very end of last year. I think we may have reviewed it, but didn't spend too much time on it. It was yeah, we did. It was fine.
It was all right.
But I didn't see the Netflix film. What I will be seeing is the Vince Staples show, but more on that later. But yeah, you come to Insano and it's like okay, so Kid Cudi's still doing his sound and his thing, but it's less focused and less organized, and most importantly, it's like less purposeful than ever. To the point where I'm just like, these could have been things you like. A lot of these could have been like decent songs if they had been produced a little bit more and thought out a little bit more. Like you bring some more people to the lab and also put some more features on here, because the most redeeming moments are honestly when Kid Cudi shuts up and he lets people like Travis Scott or Lil Yachty or ASAP Rocky or Free Young Thug rap on top of these Kid Cudi beats. And I'm like, dude, you've yayed yourself, man. Like you suck. You suck. You're a terrible rapper. No one wants to hear you. Just make some beats and kick rocks, my guy.
Like when you fuck up a Pharrell beat at the party, at tail end of the record, and like I hear that, like the beat goes hard. Like I'm like, Pharrell made $1 million beat. I'm like, this is great. Travis Scott goes hard. You hear Cudi, and you're like,
a Pharrell beat. A Pharrell beat is literally like driving a Honda Civic automatic. Like the thing basically drives itself.
Exactly.
Like it's not hard. It's not
just
hard.
Just talk. You don't even have to say words. You don't even speak English to be Kid Cudi.
Just like use the pedals. You barely have to brake. Like it's just
like, you know what it is? It's like when you play a racing game and you put on easy mode and it does auto steering for you. That's what that is. That's what happens when you have a Pharrell beat and you fuck it up.
No, this is like auto aim in Grand Theft Auto. Like it's really it's the epitome of point and shoot. You cannot mess. Pharrell's been making beats for 20 years. These have been hits for 20 years. You can't mess what it is. It's the I can't believe it's not butter of hip hop. Like it just doesn't. You can't mess it up. And Kid Cudi still managed it. Like bannable offense. Still more hip hop than Drake though.
Absolutely, still more hip hop than Drake. It's so bland. It's
I mean,
bad.
like it's not bland, but it's Kid Cudi bland, right? Like it's Kid Cudi type beats. Like that's what it sounds like. It feels like Kid Cudi himself went off of YouTube and it's like, what is a copy or what is an iteration of what I sound like? Okay, cool. I'm gonna YouTube to MP3 them shits and just like run those on my album and like not credit anyone. It sounds like a parody of Kid Cudi's music. And I'm like, if you're gonna make a parody of Kid Cudi's music, congratulations, Kid Cudi, you're a producer. So start collecting those kind of checks, buddy.
So like, I don't mind. Yeah, Kid Cudi ate himself. Just don't rip out your teeth and put in some of your denture shit. Just produce some shit like for the new guys. It's fine. I like it. Like,
remember, Kid Cudi, no slurs. This is a really important step. Kanye got real tripped up on this one. No slurs. You got that, Cudi? This is really hard for Meek Mill, all right? No slurs.
Free Meek Mill. I mean, even though he's been freed.
Meek Mill is the child that was left behind.
So Meek Mill's a child. You forget, you're like, oh shit, that's right, we had him. But Meek Mill's the reason why Acura has a function in its car where it says when you turn off the car and it says check rear seats. That's for Meek Mill.
George W. Bush was reading to Meek Mill during 9/11. Sprinkle that. Sprinkle.
I might have done the best my favorite toe line I've ever done in Audioface, possibly. It was hidden and great. If you know, you know. It's great. All right, arbitrary scale. We do arbitrary scales because our review is our review. This one is 2024 aviation in the 21 days that have been 2024. This is definitely the fucking 737 MAX 9 extra door that doesn't need to be there, not having bolts being loose and getting ripped like a golden ticket, Jim Rome. From
now on X. Jim Rome on X.
Jim Rome on X. That makes me sad. That makes me so sad.
You want to know why that happened?
What happened to
Because Jim Rome's a Nazi. No, I'm just kidding. Jim Rome.
Whoa.
Jim Rome and Carl. Jim Rome and Don Lemon and a lot of the other people who got deals with X, which sounds very weird to say every single time. They're all with the same management company. And so this management company, because Elon Musk is like the laziest person ever on earth. So he was like,
course.
rather than make separate deals, I'm just gonna work with the company and be like, hey, get 10 of your starters. And that's why it's like Jim Rome and Don Lemon and whoever who are like filling out this lineup. So yeah, that's how it happens. It's you know, mine is going to be the runaway collision. Actually, no. Actually, this is gonna be the engine cowling at Salt Lake City Airport.
Dude, that was day one. Day one should have told us that this was gonna be
Start
bad.
off strong. Also, my favorite thing, if you look at the Wikipedia article, which I'm going to share on screen here because I can do this, is that when it describes a 30-year-old man dying after going through the emergency exit door, faxed, and entering the ramp, going onto the airport's de-icing pad and being overtaken by the engine cowling, you have this little like superscript that says importance.
Dude, that's great. He literally got sucked into an engine, like just zoop.
He got no caped out of the on some Edna mode, and then Wikipedia is gonna be like, did his life matter?
Dude, that's great.
No, Wikipedia literally all lives mattered him right here, but it's like importance, really? Vaxxed?
Vaxxed. That's the ult right there. That's the ultimate vaxxed.
Okay, quick hits. Let's jump right into it. Donald Trump was watching Vanilla Ice on New Year's. That's how Donald Trump spent his New Year's. I think that's very fitting, honestly.
Dude, beautiful.
I really don't know what else to say about that. I can pull up the video very shortly. Hold. But I think this is at Mar-a-Lago, and again, I'm like, you know what? This is exactly what both of them deserve at this point. I'm happy about this for both of them. No, I wasn't able to. Oh, yes. I found it. Okay, here we go. There. If there was a problem, yo, check out the hook for my DJ revolves. Ice, baby. Oh, you know. Honestly, same dude.
Oh god, if I had to sit through hearing Ice Baby perform live, I would probably have the same reaction, to be fair.
Yes. Also, thank you, Subversive History, for the raid 3 minutes ago. We are doing Audioface, our music podcast, where we do we just got through our album reviews. We just got through making fun of a lot of stuff happening in the music world. This is the story we're just doing where yeah. We'll play through it one more time. But yeah, it's in Palm Beach, and Donald Trump just has to sit there in his own establishment, assumedly, as you know, watching as Vanilla Ice is ruining this. Vanilla Ice, front of the show, truly on Audioface.
Absolutely.
Yes. Also, shout out Re918. Good evening to you as well. So next up on Quick Hits, we have the Vince Staples Show.
Woo!
Honestly, long time coming. This had been announced, like, I think, you know, speaking of 2019, you know, yeah. I think that was like when the 21 Savage album released. That was also the Vince Staples Show teasers.
Was that when Get the Fuck Off My Dick happened and that was the original teaser?
That was part of it, yeah. There was that. There was 2 songs that were coinciding with the Vince Staples Show. So a lot going on there for sure. But I had mistakenly tweeted after Vince Staples had tweeted a couple days ago, just this January, that we're gonna get GTA 6 before the Vince Staples Show drops. And then it came out the Vince Staples Show is dropping on Valentine's Day. So I am going to be ripped to whoever I'm on a date with that day, because I'm going to be the most annoying person ever. And instead of paying attention to them, I'm going to be watching the Vince Staples Show, which is why I will be single on February 15th. It will be worth it.
And you said you watched the Vince Staples Show
absolutely.
On February 15th.
Yes. So that is, you know, like Vince Staples, he just got a really incredible like personality. I think it's like long overdue for him to get a TV show like this. So bless, honestly. And I'm really excited to see how it goes out. It seems to have like a little bit of a comedy drama type
It's supposed to be
turn
like a
how it's
comedy,
working.
which is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. It seems to have a lot of Long Beach, influence, which makes sense. So, we'll see. We will see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, next up, on the list, Taylor Swift, Pentagon PSYOP. You've heard it here first. So Fox News, scraping the bottom of the barrel because there's nothing really to talk about. They had some supposed expert on to talk about how Taylor Swift, because of the stronghold that she has on pop culture and everything, could she be being used by the Biden White House to I can't even like with a straight face do this, honestly. So I will play this part again from Reels that was like Vice News, and we'll like watch.
She can potentially single-handedly swing voters because of just the amount of followers that she potentially can influence.
When she posted the link to the vote.org, it's like hundreds of thousands of young Taylor Swift fans all of a sudden registered to vote. I wonder who got to her from the White House or from wherever.
The administration has what they consider a perception optics management team. And those are professionals that go out and identify those people who may be unsuspecting, whether with knowledge or without knowledge, to do these type of campaigns. Now, it is possible that Taylor Swift, quite frankly, does not know that she is being utilized in a covert manner to swing voters. But the bottom line is that the Biden administration is savvy, identifying how many followers and how many voters potentially she can influence with either right information or misinformation. She certainly can swing the voters.
Okay, Stuart, thank you so much. I now know a lot more about Taylor Swift than I ever wanted to know.
She can certainly swing the voters.
Big fucking K.
This is totally the Boondocks episode, Let's Nab Oprah, of like, she controls the thoughts, behaviors, and summer reading patterns of women all across the world. She doesn't even know that. So control over Taylor Swift is control over bitches. Like, you gotta imagine Joe Biden as Jen Rummy and Ed Wensler going, so if I kidnap Taylor Swift, that means I kidnap all the bitches. And then like Joe Biden tries to kidnap Taylor Swift in like some SEAL Team 6 operation, and instead they end up with like Ellen DeGeneres. Like, oh man, that's messy. So obviously that's ridiculous. Taylor Swift honestly had an issue with not, again, you don't need to be a political artist necessarily. Drake claiming to be part of hip hop, that's a different story. But if you're Taylor Swift, it's fine. I think the least you could do is like make sure Nazis don't co-opt your personality, your persona, which is what was happening with Taylor Swift for a moment. And she finally around 2015, 2016 started to kind of push that aside.
Oh, that's
but no,
right.
she's
I about that.
Yeah, like other than I think there was like someone in like on the East Coast who was like running on like the state level. She hasn't really gotten into politics. And I think even that was like a women's bodily autonomy type thing, or like a people who can give birth, like that sort of rights issue. And so Taylor Swift has been pretty non-political, considering Morgan Wallen's been political and yelling slurs, and Drake has been political and wearing blackface. So when like those are the top 3 pop stars we've got here, I think Taylor Swift's not that bad.
Yeah.
Again, the show has changed me. Taking a complete 180 to someone who is taking their political personas and not going very bad.
Jesus Christ.
We would like to end Audioface on a going 100 miles down a highway with like the narrowest center dividers possible kind of way. Kanye West has been unfortunately known for his anti-Semitic rhetoric and remarks. However, he has since apologized, I guess more recently, supposedly apologized. it's been deleted already, but Kanye West posted a thing on Instagram that was in Yiddish, right? Like it was just like in Hebrew, I guess, like in the written language that's used in Israel, apologizing in some way to the Jewish community for supposed anti-Semitism that Kanye West has done. I mean, this is all supposedly on the backdrop of an album rollout. We know how this goes. We're honestly both tired of this, where like he just acts all erratic and says ridiculous things and nearly destroys his life and the final straw for the love that people have around him for these things. And this seems to be another one of those cases. So not a fan of it.
It's just fucking Kanye.
Yeah, I
How many times do I have to teach you this lesson, old man?
yeah, less so. I don't know, like more so than ever, less so than ever. Like I'm less willing to entertain Kanye's like whatever he's on at this point. Like I don't care about the explanation. I don't care how the album sounds. I don't care when he finishes it. I don't care what stupid clothing or stem player comes out of it. Him and Kid Cudi need to shut up, make some beats, and never be heard from again. Wherever MF Doom is, go there.
Go to Belize. He's there. Chill.
Go
with him.
there. You can be alive. You just got to go away. Well, from Taylor Swift as a psyop to Kanye West reading right to left. This has been Audioface 2024. And if there's anything you get from this podcast, it's that like music is still alive and kicking, and there's a lot of stuff that's great going on. And regardless of how that comes to you, and thankfully it's probably going to be less and less of Pitchfork in the coming weeks and months. Definitely stick around because the world is terrible, but the music is great. And most importantly, well, second most importantly, I'll do this another way. I'll say most importantly, thank you to the Audioface team. Kyle, who helped a lot with our Coachella producing and coverage. Peter, Austin, Sachi, and Forrest for the editing on the back end. Thank you all for doing that. Thank you, Sean, for hosting and doing the reviewing, of course. And the most important thing for the viewers at home, if you remember nothing else from this episode, if it's a Boeing, you're not going.
Absolutely.
You can take that to my lawyer. This has been Audioface. Thank you very much for listening and watching. We will talk to you next time. Thank you all in chat for listening and watching. Thank you to Dragon, Ray918, Nina Turner's Pet Dragon, Jules to you.
Hilarious username.
And the new folks who followed. Again, Subversive History, thank you for rating. And then Franken Party, Philbo Schwaggins, which is my new favorite main. Why So Dankness and Magyar Guy. All those are great names. Thank you very much for listening and watching. We have another week of hell coming up. And
yeah.
Hope you all enjoy that. We will be here through it all. And regardless of what happens, we will be ending this week with Secret Radiohead, right?
Oh, sweet baby Jesus. Yes. Secret Radiohead, and I can't wait.
We have the smile, and we have a lot of great. We have too much sauce truly coming up for the next couple of things. So stay tuned. YouTube, twitch.tv/Dan from the web, youtube.com/Dan from the internet, and become a member at join.syndicate23.co. Oh, and also youtube.com/audiofacepod for this specifically. Gotta get my plugs right. All right. Thank you all very much for listening and watching. I am now going to get the loop on. And so cheers.